Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Board Game Mechanics. I'm Katie, and with me, as always, is...
Hey, everybody, what's going on? It is Jason.
Oh, man. My semester started this week, and I'm teaching at 3 different colleges, and I feel like my brain is spinning. So I'm glad to take a break from all of that and be able to talk about board games for a little while.
Yeah, that is always nice. I started a new job, only one job, but, I mean, it's still new and a lot of learning, but not as exhausting as what you have going on for sure.
Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Who knows? I'm teaching all different kinds of things, which does make it fun. Like, I do like when I get to do different things and my schedule varies, but my brain is working overtime. And I'm also taking like a 4-week course online. So, because I have nothing else to do.
Katie loves to learn. She's a student of the world.
I do. I love to learn. That's why I became a teacher. Then I would never have to leave school. It's what I've always been good at. So I thought, well, why leave? I mean, maybe. Sometimes I think, why don't I leave?
Yeah, that's true.
Underpaid, underappreciated, pour my heart and soul out for no reason to like 18-year-olds who couldn't care less. Fun times.
Yeah, 18-year-olds are jerks.
Oh, teenagers. God
Not
love
all
them.
of them, but as a general rule, most of them.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world when you step into that realm. I have to put like my armor on and remind myself that I really don't care what 18-year-olds think of me. I just have to teach my class.
It's true.
But enough about me, enough about my problems. We're here to talk about games. So we should get started with the news. And honestly, I wish there was more to say. My correspondent in the field gave me a news item about the new Circadian's Light expansions. You can check those out if you want. Or Circadian's First Light.
Circadian's First Light, yeah.
I haven't played the game. I didn't want to talk about them. It's space. So I also thought about talking about like the Dice Towers got their Kickstarter out, but I was only going to talk about it so I could say, well, we don't make any money off of our podcasts and our videos. We just do it for the love of games. But I thought that was self-aggrandizing, so I didn't put it on the list. But what I did put on the list was a game that inspires nostalgia. It's from Bloat Games. I guess it says they did the Survive This Zombies and some other stuff. The Blackest of Deaths and all this Survive This business. I don't know anything about that. But apparently the creator likes RPGs, and he's from Kentucky, so hey. He's just south of the border. But this game that he made is called Play, Rewind, Eject. So it's a party game, as you might be able to tell by the title. But there's a couple cool things about it. And it's about movies. And I love movies. And also I have worked in many video stores, even the famous and now extinct Blockbuster. Actually, I think all video stores are extinct, but for the most part, I worked at Blockbuster in Indiana, actually, many moons ago. And so the theme of movies and play, rewind, eject really just sits with me. So what you do is everybody gets 7 cards and they have movies. And I believe they said they pulled them from like the top, the highest grossing and most beloved film lists. I don't know what that means, but they apparently said that even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably heard of them. And they've got some expansions and stuff, but the core set has what they say are pretty familiar movies. So each person gets 7 cards to start with, and each card has 1 movie on it. So then everyone takes, like, whoever is the turn, they choose 1 card to play that is a movie they would play. They love it. You're keeping it the same. You don't want to change it. Then you pick 1 card that you would rewind, and that is you want to make it a reboot or remake it. So same basic story, but new script, director, cast, etc. So it could be good. It could turn out terrible, but you're like, let's remake this one. And then 1, you want to eject. You want to remove that movie from history and the game like it never existed. So you select those and you place them face up on the table for everybody to see. So then you've got these cards that say play, rewind, eject, and you're going to lay them face down next to the movies so that people don't know which one is the play one, which is the rewind, and which is the ejecting. And they have to play their own play, rewind, eject cards to try and guess which movie you picked for what. Again, a very basic, common, type of play that we've seen in lots of other games.
Shag, marry, kill.
But applying it to movies and that nostalgia, what happens then is once the ejected card actually goes into an ejected pile out of the game, and you draw 3 new cards. So like you keep ejecting cards and movies from the game, and you have to keep working with the ones you have as you keep going. So your choices kind of become harder because you're ejecting the ones that you really dislike right off the top. And then you're like, ooh, now what do I do? Do I play the Lord of the Rings, keep it the same? Do I try to rewind it? What about Up? Do I try to make it with real people? Like, you just kind of get those choices, which I think could be kind of fun. What I also love is the cards come in what look like cassette tape boxes. And the original box is designed to fit not only the base set, but the expansions that they have. And they have 4 expansions, which I think sound cool. There's an 80s movie expansion, animated movies, comic book movies, and horror movies. So if you are a movie fan and, you just want like a casual kind of fun game to play with family, friends about movies, I would check out Play, Rewind, Eject. So there's 11 days left in that Kickstarter. Just the basic set is $25. If you want to get all of like the available expansions and stuff, so that's 4 different expansions plus the base, so 5 different decks, that's $75.
All right, first off, news must be slow if this is what we're talking about. And second, this is probably going to do gangbusters because that stupid, whatever the thing is called, like I said, Shag, Marry, Kill, people have been playing that forever, and that's what this is. Just with movies instead of people, less sexist and all that stuff. So I bet this does pretty well. People like movies. People like that silly game.
Yeah, they only wanted to raise like $3,200, so they're like way past that. They have 159 backers now, and they've raised $13,000.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a lot more than their one.
Yeah, with 11 days still to go. And it looks like it's got that like VHS tape nostalgia feel to it. Like, yeah. And I think it would be fun. Like, you don't have to take it too seriously. You can play it, with family members. Like, it's just a laid back kind of fun party-ish game. And yeah, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I know you don't want it.
Yeah, I'm not even interested in the slightest, but I'm sure other people will like it for sure.
Yeah, and that's all I have for news today.
All right, so let's get talking about some games that we played. We have a couple different ones. One of them is pretty new hotness, and one of them is definitely not new hotness, but we did play it, so we're going to talk about it. And the first one that we're going to talk about, I'm going to try to say this game name because it's kind of funky. Orichalcum?
Yeah, Orichalcum.
Yeah, okay. It's a Bruno Catala game with a co-designer. I didn't know that at the time we played it.
I didn't know it was Bruno.
Yeah, me neither. I was watching a video and somebody said it was a Bruno. I was like, oh, all right. I mean, it doesn't really feel like a Bruno game. Maybe it's a co-designer. But this is effectively a racing game. And what that means is you're trying to be the first player to get to 5 points to end the game. And the way you're doing that is you're going to be drafting a card that has a tile on it. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get different colors of tiles onto your little player board to form different groupings of certain terrain types to maybe earn a Titan, and that'll score you a point. You can maybe get different terrain types, and then you can take an action on one of the cards. Because when you take a card, you get a tile, and you also are allowed to do the action that's on that card. And I think there's 4 different actions. And one of the actions is buying a temple. I could buy a temple as long as I have 4 different terrain types, cover it up, I get a point. I can spend 5 gold if I take that building tile, and I can buy a medallion and get a point. You can also fight monsters, because every time you take a volcano tile, they're going to be considered wild, but you have to fight a monster that's on there. They give you rewards, and they block you from being able to build things, so you need to kill them. And after you take a turn, you can cash in some resources and different combinations to take another turn. And you're just trying to be as efficient as you can, taking tiles, making groups, building things to score 5 points. That's it. It's pretty quick. I liked it. I like these kind of games. I know that I'm sure Kate will say that she's not a fan later, but I enjoyed it. It might have actually been a little too quick. That's my only issue with these games, is sometimes you can get going, and by the time you actually get stuff built up so your engine is moving to help you get those points, the game's over. So I do kind of struggle with that in these games a little bit, but it's so short that it didn't bother me a ton. I think we played this in, it was less than an hour. It was pretty fast. So how'd you feel about Orichalcum?
I liked it, but yeah, because I don't like that race to a certain number of points. I don't mind if there's like a definitive number of rounds, even if they're short. But I like to be able to get points as I see fit, and you get points as you see fit, and then we'll see how that worked out. But I think the name is super weird. Like, the artwork is really kind of cutesy and cartoony, and like the name sounds like a deep like Euro with Clemens Franz box art, ugly looking people that are sideways. And it's not.
So apparently that word means mountain, copper, or metal.
Yeah, it's like an ancient type of like material.
Yeah, I didn't know what it meant. I do agree with you that it could be been called like anything else. Generic combat would have been a better name. Race to 5 points, that would have been a better name.
I think the idea, like it was it's mentioned like in like the story of Atlantis by Plato. Right. So I can see where it's almost like you're building Atlantis, and that might have been the theme around it. Then I would have called it Building Atlantis.
Yeah.
Instead of Orichalcum. But that aside, like I think it had a lot of really cool things in it. But I agree, because of that race system of points, like you don't get to do as much or explore those different things as much as I would want to. So that for me was kind of a bummer, because I'm like, I'm really into this game, but I don't get to try, some different strategies to make points because it's already over. And I don't like that, because I think that changes your decisions. And so you take like the easiest route, which for me sometimes isn't the most fun, or the one that I want to pursue, or the one that like my starting cards or tiles or whatever or placement like really lends to. So I think that's what that would be the only drawback, because yeah, I really loved fighting the monsters. Like, that was a really cool thing. I like picking up even tiles that can help you like figure out, like maximize on certain things to get points for them, get special powers. Like I thought it was really cool. I thought I had a lot of good things going for it, and it was pretty.
Yeah, it was a good game. I like this game a lot. And I think the only benefit of that, it being over too quickly, is it makes you want to come back and play it again to maybe try something different, see if that helps you win. I think that's one of the perks of the short game that ends like that. It leaves you wanting more, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was enjoyable, but just too short. All right, so the next one, going from Atlantis and words that we can't say, we're going to England, London, England, with Sherlock Holmes in a game called 221B Baker Street, the Master Detective Game. And this game is from the 70s. Kicked it vintage on this one. And this is a clue-ish game. What that means is you're rolling a die, moving a pawn around, and you're going into these rooms to get clues. Now, this one's a little bit different. It's going to have cases, and it's going to have a certain solution that you're trying to obtain. So at the beginning of the case, you're going to be getting read like some backstory off of this card. And then every room is going to have some kind of clue that you're going to be reading out of the book that represents the case. Some of the clues may be helpful. Some of them may not even be a clue. I think there was one room that wasn't even a clue. Some of them could be like one or two or 2 or 3 part clues where they give you like a clue that's like pointing you to a name or something like that. And you're just moving around, going to these rooms, trying to get the clues to answer the questions that the case says you need to answer. You can lock rooms with police shields. You can use a skeleton key to unlock that room. If you don't have a skeleton key, then you can't go in that room. It's just moving around, obtaining clues, trying to make it back to 221 Baker Street to solve the case. Now, I did terrible at this. I didn't realize that the story that was up at the top is going to have a lot of pertinent information in there. So I was going to all these rooms, and the clues didn't make any sense. Brandon and Katie kept reading the thing clue over and over. I had no idea why they were looking at it. Turns out it was important. So I'm terrible at this. I think now that I know that clue story is important, I would do better on the second game. But probably not great, but I think I would at least get some answer right. So yeah, I didn't hate it, but it's definitely not one that I'm going to be chomping at the bit to play again. So how do you feel about 221B Baker Street?
This is one that I am chomping at the bit to play again. I was so excited because it has like that old school like Clue look, but it's not. Like, it's better. The
moving around on the board is better for sure. I'll give you that.
In some ways, it's also, I would say, frustrating because, like, I went to I think it depends. Like, it's luck of where you go if it gives you like the best clue. Like, I went to the first place I went to, I read it and I was like, okay, I pretty much have it solved, and I did. Because it was just a really good clue. It like tipped me off right away. I'm like, okay, I know who the murderer is. I have a pretty good handle on what the weapon is, and I have some guesses at motive based on the story scenario that I was given. So then it was just like confirmation and like trying to figure out where I needed to go. Where would that, because I think the information you get sometimes doesn't seem logical with where it is. I guess it's confusing. Like, I thought, there was a cigarette left at the scene of the crime, so I need to go to the tobacconist, which I guess it did give me information about the cigarettes. But some clues are kind of red herrings in some ways. And you're like, they're all red herrings. No, it's not. Like, you told me this information, but I already know that person's not the murderer, so I don't necessarily need to know this explicitly. But I just feel like it tells a really full story of a crime. And like, we played a simpler scenario, but there's some other ones deeper in that you have to find more besides like the murderer and the weapon and the motive. Like,
we had to find A, B, C, and I think it goes all the way to like G or H of stuff you have to find. They get crazy.
Which I think that would be amazing. Like, I think that's awesome.
I think we have 80 cases or 60. We have 2 of the books. So we got the base book, and then there was one expansion in the box. So I think there's 60 cases total in ours. Something like that.
Yeah. I would really like to play this again. Really.
So imagine playing a game of Clue. All right. And you're sitting down. You're ready to go. You just set up the game. So Katie goes first. She takes one turn. She says, I already know who it is. You haven't even had a turn yet. And then what's the point of keeping on playing if Katie already knows who it is? That's what this game kind of feels like to me. That's what it felt like that time. So I was playing that, set this game up, we learned it, and then on turn 1, Katie figured it out. That's not enjoyable a ton, but I would definitely try it again if you want to, now that I kind of know what's going on.
I mean, to be fair, it's just because I like happened to look out and go to the right clue the first time that gave me the last name of the murderer. So now I was like, oh, okay. I know the last name of the murderer. There's only one person with that last name, so I know who the murderer is. And if I read the story and I know what this cat's deal is, so I can deduce, his motive. Now I just have to find the murder weapon. Like, if someone else had gone there first, they would have drawn the same conclusions.
Yeah, maybe. So I guess I just didn't know the story meant that much in it, I guess.
Yeah, which I like, because I felt like it wasn't just simply Clue where it's like, okay, we draw a random person, a random weapon, and, a random room, where, like, the lead in, like who all the major players were, what was found at the scene, all those things actually work together. So it was a little more in depth, not as in depth as like a consulting detective, which obviously first love, but for like a roll and move basic deduction game, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to play it again. And next time I figure it out on the first time, I'll just write down a piece of paper and prove myself right later and not tell anyone.
Sounds good. If you like this one, you should try Whodunit, because it's similar, just without the Sherlock Holmes theme.
Didn't we play it?
I played it with Brandon, but I don't know if you played it or not.
Is that the one with like the different jewelry and stuff?
No, that's Suspicion.
No.
Whodunit, you're looking, there's these, you're rolling around, you're rolling and moving. You're going into these different rooms trying to find, there's like 5 different types of bad guys. There's different weapons. There's different motives. There's different like personality types. It's similar to that, just with no story overlying art.
Oh, but I like the story. That's part of it.
Yeah, I was expecting the Baker Street game to play more like Whodunit. So I think the reason I did so bad was I was expecting something that I wasn't. So, but we have 59 more cases or 49 more cases that we can try, and eventually maybe I'll do better.
You usually do. Like once you get what you're supposed to be doing, once I helped you figure out deduction, I feel like you can do it.
My brain's a little slow sometimes, so it takes me a minute.
You're just not as suspicious as I am about things. I'm like,
It also doesn't help that I always interpret things differently than every single other person that reads it. So that's hard in deduction games. So it always takes me a little bit longer to flip my thinking around when I'm playing games like that. All right, so those are 2 of the games we played. Let's keep moving on.
all right. Well, we have moved quickly on back to our top 100 games of all time. And holy cow, we are running into our top 20. On this episode, we're only going to talk from 20 to 11. This is where you're going to see why Jason and I are soulmates. There's a few exceptions, but most of our games you will see more than once. We overlap quite a bit. There's a few from last episode's list that kind of reappear in the other here, and I assume in our top 10 it'll be very similar based on what I'm seeing, because we do love, and most of these are crunchy Euros.
I think they all are.
I mean, some of them are uglier than others.
There's a couple like crunchy Euros on here, but most of them are crunchy Euros.
They are. So, Jason, kick us off with your number 20.
All right, so my number 20 is, we'll just say the top 20 is going to have a lot of a certain country of designers on here, and that country may be Italy. And my first one is definitely from the Italians. I'm not sure which ones. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to call them all the Italians. And it is the Voyages of Marco Polo. And this is a game that it's a dice placement game. And you're using your dice to gather different resources. There's fabric, spices, gold, camels, money. And then you're using those resources to move around this map, like traveling like Marco Polo did, to set up trading posts in different locations, to activate end of round abilities, score points, have more places to use your dice. And ultimately, you're trying to move around to complete these 2 like mission cards that you have. You want to visit all these locations on the cards. The tricky part is moving around is expensive. It takes 2 dice. It can get pricey if someone else goes there first. You got to pay a tax. And that's another cool thing. You can put your dice on top of other people's dice, so nothing is really blocked off unless you don't have any money, because you have to pay a tax to the bank, and that can get pricey. But really cool game. It's got a lot going on. It's only 5 rounds, so you can't do much of anything that you want to do all the way, but you make the best of it. You have fun. It burns your brain, and I like it. So my number 20, The Voyages of Marco Polo.
This is good. I believe this will be revisited next week.
Nice.
My number 20 is a Martin Wallace game.
You hate this game. I can't believe it's this low. You hate this game. You must despise it.
I haven't played it for a while. I think if I played it again, it'd move up to my top 10. I mean, Marty Wallace, you all know how I feel.
Brass, yeah, you love
Surprise,
brass.
it's brass. No, wouldn't that be, everybody would die. It's definitely not brass. That game sucks. Okay? It's London. Oh my gosh. I love this game. So London is an absolutely hideous game. And I'm talking, I have the OG, not the new one that gets rid of the board because that's stupid.
Yeah, we don't want that good artwork stuff. Get that out of here.
I don't even know. It's not even that great artwork either, but it's certainly
than
better than the first, which I just think is like black blobs on the back and then like clip art on the front. And then like tiddlywinks of different colors for money.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Woof. Right? But London is a card game. There is a board also, but primarily it's this card hand management game where you are playing cards out of your hand into a tableau to make your city. Every time, and like once you get so many cards out there, you can run your city. That means you're going to use the cards and like run this tableau to produce. It's like an engine. It's going to produce things for you, like points and money. All good things, all good things. Also, though, when you run a city in the Industrial Revolution, like for some reason Martin Wallace is totally caught up in, you're going to have poverty. And poverty builds and builds, and you may find ways to get rid of a little of it, but you cannot avoid it. And so part of running your city is to like keep the size manageable to manage your poverty, because you get rid of as much poverty as the lowest amount of poverty person has. Is that right? Or is it the opposite?
Whoever has whoever has the least, they
get rid of all of theirs. Yep. And then if you have more than them, you keep the remaining difference. And poverty is negative points. So you're really, and every time you play a card, you have to get rid of a card of the same color as payments. So you're like trying to balance all these things. I just love that. And you'll see another game that's even higher that is about hand management like that. I love trying to like make the best out of a tableau and play cards, and you can lay over top of them and get rid of ones and keep ones and draw ones. And there's also kind of the one way to mitigate poverty is to kind of do, I don't want to say an area control.
You can just kill your populace. That helps.
No, you put cubes out on the board, the different areas of London.
Yeah, you can purchase the boroughs. Yeah.
So I don't know this like area control, but sort of like staking a claim, like territory.
Yeah, I guess, but you're not really fighting for the areas. Once it's bought, it's bought.
It's just gone. So you take it.
Helps you reduce your poverty. Yeah.
So that's helping you reduce your poverty. You can also connect the underground for like points, which I really love to do if that works out. It's so good. Like, I don't understand why Martin Wallace has all these other really crappy games, and London is so good. That card management mechanic, like, oh, it's so great. I don't care if it's hideous. You could paste other stuff on top. I mean, you could probably make a print and play of this and like make it look real good, but I'll still play the ugly one because I just love the mechanics of this game. So my number 20 is London.
Yeah, this one's all right.
Oh my gosh, stop.
All right, so my number 19, let me say this before I go to my number 19. When I was making my list, apparently I put on this list the games that I wanted to play. And the more that I wanted to play them, the higher they went up. Because this is a game that I don't play a ton, but I want to play it. And the reason I don't play it is this is a Uncle Vital game, and they are beasts. And I normally don't want to teach it, and Katie's basically the only one besides me that knows how to play it, and anybody else would have to teach it to, and I don't want to do that. So my number 19 is Lisboa, and this is a beefy, heavy Euro game about rebuilding the city of Lisboa after the floods, the earthquakes, and the fires that happened in some year back in the day. And what you're doing in this game is you are basically acquiring the favor of one of these three people that are going to let you take different types of actions. And when you do that, it's going to unlock 47,000 other actions that you're able to do on your turn just by picking one of these three people. It's going to let you do all these other things. And you're trying to put out some area influence on these people. You're trying to rebuild different districts and columns and rows in Lisboa to score a pile of points. You're trying to clear rubble cubes to complete sets to score more points. You're trying to recruit some ships so you can deliver goods and score more points. Vital said that's important. You're trying to do a whole bunch of other things, but the interesting way it works is you're playing a card. You're going to play a card either onto the main board or above your player board or below your player board, and where you play the card determines how your action is going to play out. There's a huge pamphlet of what happens when you take an action, like a little cheat sheet. It's a beast. I love it. I want to play it. I just don't, and that makes me sad. So my number 19, Lisboa.
I do like Lisboa. It was my number 68. It is just very complex. That's why. My number 19, oh man, I think this might have fallen a little bit. And it's because I haven't played it a lot because the setup kind of sucks on it. And people don't want to play it with me because it does take a while. I don't know. I just want to play it more, but nobody plays it. And that makes me sad. But I am kind of obsessed with this game. And that's Obsession. Obsession. Oh my gosh. I love this game. I love the designer. I don't know the designer in real life, but I love him because the attention to detail, the thematic rendering of this game is so boss. Like, I love that. Like, the reason why people need certain okay, so in Obsession, you are a family that's fallen on hard times and you're trying to reestablish yourself. So you want to raise your reputation and you want to raise your money because that's what you need. You want to be back in the upper crust. So you are holding events at your estate so that you can kind of raise money, and you're inviting guests that are maybe going to give you some money, that are going to increase your reputation. You're going to hire more servants to help you out, help you run these events. You're going to make upgrades to your estate because you want to woo the Fairchilds, who are these wealthy orphans, poor dears. But if you can get them married off to you and you can raise your family way back up into the upper tier society, which is of course where you want to be. It is Downton Abbey, the board game. It's got upstairs, downstairs, which ironically is also the expansion, which, oh my gosh, it's such a good expansion. The game by itself, base game, great. But upstairs, downstairs had some really great servants with abilities that do such cool stuff. Oh my gosh. And the meeples are flippin' adorable. I love the different activities. Like, I love the different guests. I love this game. I just love this game. It's so good. It's so fun. I love it. My number 19, Obsession.
Yeah, so a little factoid about this that I just found out today. This is now number 100 on BGG, which is pretty high.
Hey-yo.
Considering this game was like criminally out of print for a long time, it has a lot of fans.
I feel like I'm part of the reason why it's number 100. It's not me.
Yeah, we have talked about this a lot. It's a good game. My number 18, I believe Katie talked about last week or the week before, I don't know. But it is called Hadara, and this is...
last week.
It's everything that Seven Wonders wanted to be, but this does it in a way better package. They're not similar games at all, but like theme-wise. What you're trying to do in this game is you are drafting some cards from these 5 different areas. You're going to pick up 2. You're either going to decide to buy one, put it in your tableau, use its abilities, scores points, move up its tracks, or you're going to sell it for the money on the back, and then you have to discard the other one face up into the pile. After everybody does all that 5 times, then we're going to do another round of going through the face-up piles, buying some cards, doing all that, and then we're going to have to feed our people. We're trying to, Katie said all this stuff last week, acquire some military tiles, just score most points. You're trying to make your tableau, your civilization, the best that you can, to score the most points. It's super easy to play. It's actually pretty easy to teach too. But for like a medium weight game, it's got a lot going on and lets you think about a lot of things, and I like that. So my number 18, Hadara.
Yeah, it's super good. Obviously. My number 18 is, I think Jason talked about this last week or the week before, and I thought, how dare he rank it so low? Another game of the Italians, Lorenzo Il Magnifico. This game is so good. Like, you've got It's dice
It was
placement.
my number 21. It's not that low.
Okay, just last week, whatever. That's okay. It's 3 spaces too low. I couldn't remember when you talked about it. Lorenzo, it's like dice placement, but you all have the same. No, we don't have the same dice. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we all share the dice. Yeah.
We share the dice. And you're using it to draft cards that you're then going to either use for in-game points or for your tableau that you're building. You can run this engine that's going to give you stuff that you need to actually purchase these cards. And like the good ones are expensive. Like resources are so flipping tight in this game. But I love that. Like it's such a puzzle and a challenge of like, how can I make the best use of these cards, like getting in-game cards that like sync with what I have. You've got these like family leaders or something. I'm not sure what they're called. I think you've got a couple of them, and you can turn them in for like resources at any time, which you need. But if you can like fulfill them and like play them, they give you like awesome powers too. So and points. So it's just like, ooh, you're just trying to be economical, but also like you're just trying to gather points in whatever way you can. Like it's so good. It is kind of a lot, I think, because you've got all these moving parts. But really, like you're just selecting cards. But the choices are so like meaty. It's such a good game with bad art. So my number 18 is Lorenzo Il Magnifico.
Yeah, I don't know how the Italians do it. They are really good at making a game actually be pretty simple, but give you a lot of stuff going on and makes it feel heavier than it is. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. All right, so my number 17 is a plaid hat game. Now, I'm no fan of the plaid hat games. This may, in fact, be the only one that I like. I can probably say that with certainty that this is the only one that I like. And this is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. And this is a worker placement game where you are going around trying to collect body parts, collect bones, blood, organs, tissue to build body parts because you're trying to create a Frankenstein monster, something like that. But if you go, the way you go about getting those body parts, some of it's a little shadier than others. May cause some of the cops to come at you, may make you lose your humanity. So you're trying to juggle all that to be able to make your monster as efficiently as you can to score points. Then shock it to life. It's like a race, kind of, to be the first player to shock your monster to life, and then that ends the game. Whoever has the most points is the winner. But throughout this game, there's also some event cards that pop up, where if you go to certain locations and people don't know that that's an event, it could trigger some stuff that goes down. So it's like that crossroads thing that some of their other games have. I don't know. I don't play their games. But this one does it. It's maybe a little too long. I don't care. It's fun. It's a cool theme, and I like it. So my number 17, Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein.
This is a good game. There are 2 plaid hat games that I like, but you haven't played the other one that I like. Forgotten Waters.
I know of it.
Yeah,
it's a game. I know it's a game.
I feel like I would like Stuffed Fables too, but
yeah, we could probably play that with the girl, the youngest girl.
I know. I think so. I keep lobbying for it. You keep not buying it.
If it was another company, maybe.
All right, my number 17 has dropped significantly, and I'm not sure why.
I blame Bob.
No, I beat him.
Oh, that's true. No, he won because he did that stupid card thing, remember?
No, he didn't. He thought he was going to win, but I think I squeaked out the win on this one.
That's right.
I think. I don't know. I looking at my top 10, I don't know. We did play it.
We never did say the name of the game. Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, it's fine. We did play this fairly recently. This is a Feld. So I'm assuming this is my highest Feld. Since I don't really know what he made, but I'm sure he didn't make the other ones.
Yeah, I don't see your number 10, your 10 through 1, so yeah, I don't know. But probably not.
I'm going to say no. So it's my highest Feld, and it's Merlin. Merlin is this game that has these cool rondelles. Again, you're using dice as your action selection, I would say. The dice correspond to your little person on the board or Merlin, or we also have the Arthur expansion. And so you can get a dice for Arthur too, which is great. You are fighting off invading types of armies. You are just trying to collect points and like fulfill, like there is a ton of stuff you can do in Merlin, which is why I love it. You can go into any, like, there's like an area control board. You can go into that one. You could really like try and do area control even on the main board itself. Trying just to have all of your different types of workers out there, all of them for every round. That's going to give you points too. Like there's just a lot of ways to get points in this, and that's why I like it so much. It's just a well done game. I love the theme also, which again, the theme doesn't really play that much into the actual gameplay itself, but I like the look of it. I like the Arthur expansion. Like it's just a good game. It's good. So my number 17 is Merlin. I don't know if I did it justice, but
I'm sure we'll talk about it later.
I'm sure we will.
My
is this your favorite Feld?
I don't know. Let me peek at that before I say, while I'm saying my number 16. This is my favorite Feld, yes.
I've converted you. You used to like another Feld more, and that was stupid.
Yeah, I've already talked about that one, I'm pretty sure. My number 16 is, the designer is Matt Gertz, and it's a great game. I was trying to think of something clever, but who cares? It's Concordia.
I think I talked about it last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds right. So Katie's already talked about this a little bit. This is a game where you're moving around the board, where you're playing cards from your hand to take certain actions. The cool thing about this is you have a card in your hand that lets you pick up your other cards, so you're going to be kind of managing your hand by acquiring cards, playing them in certain orders, picking them up when you want to. You also have a card that can copy someone else's card that they just played. And you're trying to move around this board, get more people out, get more boats out, build buildings, so you can kind of meet these in-game goals that are going to be on cards that are also in your hand. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. It's actually pretty simple to play once you figure out how everything works. It's just playing a card and doing what the card says, but figuring out what those cards do is the tricky part. We have salsa. It adds salt, which is like a wild resource, and some other cool stuff, but we've only ever used salt, I think. It's a great game. The card thing has been copied in lots of other games now, but I still think this one does it better. And if you haven't played it, you need to, because it's amazing. So my number 16, Concordia.
Yeah, this is my number 31. I look back, so technically 2 weeks ago. My number 16 is a Stonemaier game. And we avoided it for a long time because Jason was like, this game is hyped up. It's going to be terrible. I'm not getting on that hype train. Blah, blah, blah. So then we finally played it.
That sounds just like me. Good job.
It does. Thank you. That's usually not the voice I use for you. I don't want this hype train. Everybody says so great. It can't be that great. I don't jump on the bandwagon. That's usually my voice.
I want everybody to comment and tell me if I sound like that.
It doesn't matter if they think you actually sound like that. In my head, when you say these things, that's how you sound.
I go through a filter in your brain.
Yes, it is that I'm saying something ridiculous filter. My number 16 is Wingspan. I will admit it. I'm sorry. I hate birds. I do. I don't like to watch them. I'm certainly not going to feed them. No, thank you. They will peck your eyes out and they carry disease. No, but Wingspan, I love, because it's all about building like this awesome tableau and using your cards in ways unique to you to get you the most points. It's so good. I also love that with all the expansions, they've kind of added like a new, again, like method that your bird cards can give you things. So you have bird cards that can give you something like on your turn when you like run the action. There are birds that give you things when someone else does something. There are birds that give you things in between rounds. There are birds that give you things at the end of the game. Oh, I love that. So this is a card game. Every card is a different bird. And you're trying to fill some in-game goals that you get. There are end-of-round goals that you can shoot for. And you're trying to gather points through either your bird cards directly, any of those goals, having eggs, like caching food on cards, having birds that eat other birds, so you put cards underneath them. The theme, it works really well because like the predator birds are the ones that you can put bird cards underneath there. Like they're like the cuckoo goes in another bird spot. Like it's so great. It's such a good game. Again, on your turn, You're just taking one of like 4 actions. Super easy, but as you're like playing more cards, you're triggering like more things and doing more things, and like each round just gets better and better. I really like this game. Now, if you have a lot of people and they aren't, again, thinking about what to do on their turn, on other people's turns, which you should in most games, the game can take longer, especially in those later round turns when you've got lots of cards firing off. That is a drawback. But I love the mechanics of the game. I love that I can kind of do my own thing. Like maybe I'm like, dude, I want to get bird cards that eat birds. And that's how I'm going to get points. Or like, I'm going all in on some in-game goals or whatever. Like, and then you're just seeing who does whatever method that they've chosen the best. I love it. It's so good. And I also like to play with the little eggs, and we have upgraded like food bits. So that like makes you really happy. So my number 16 is Wingspan.
Yeah, this was in my 30s. It is good. It is good. So my number 15, I was looking through my list. Katie clearly hates this game, but I like it more than her.
It was my number 20. We just discussed. It's in the same section as yours.
So I was looking through my list, and this is my favorite Martin Wallace game as well.
Ha!
Now, this year it is. And it is London. Everything Katie said about this game. It's a really cool engine, tableau builder, I guess, engine builder, card game, where you're just trying to have the most points and the least amount of poverty. That's the whole point of the game. It has some really cool card play. You're playing cards to play cards. You're playing cards of a certain color, discarding them to be able to play cards of that color to your engine. You can make your engine as big as you want, but it produces more poverty. You can make it small, but you're not going to get as much benefit when you run it, but you'll get less poverty. So it's kind of that balancing act. Great game, terrible art. This version is definitely better than the second. The second's fine, but I like the board. I think the board does add an additional element to the game that I enjoy. So I like this first edition better. So my number 15, London.
Like I already said, good game. I mean, maybe if we played it more recently, it would be higher, like closer to Jason's number. My number 15 is a game that Jason already talked about that we actually backed on Kickstarter and we have upgraded bits for. What the heck? And that game is Genotype. I really like this. It's so fun. This is where you are like kind of following the steps of Gregor Mendel and, replicating pea plant experiments, working on their genes. And like you're doing that by rolling these dice and seeing what gene combos are possible because you're trying to fulfill like these different cards of plants. You're getting people to back your research. You're getting tools that are helping you as you grow plants. It's dice drafting.
It's worker placement and dice drafting.
Because you place your workers to then draft the dice of the genotype that you want.
Right. Yep.
I love the theme. I really like the art. I just think it's such a cool idea. It's like this great little puzzly bit. And again, like you can make points off of tools and coins and stuff, and even like getting other monks to help you. And those powers are really cool. Or you're like, okay, I'm going to try to complete as many plants as possible and all these experiments. Like and then you also are like being able to place and check like in-game goals that you want to pursue and be a part of, based on the different genotypes that you're kind of drafting. Like it's such a good game. And yeah, there are lots of things to think about, but I always feel like this game just feels real chill. I don't know if it's just because you're supposed to be a monk and you're just working in your pea plant field, but I don't know. I just really love it. So my number 15 is Genotype.
Yeah, I agree. It is kind of like you're just going to work, growing some peas.
Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah, that is what it feels like, yeah. All right, so my next game, number 14, Katie also hates this one for some reason.
Is my gosh.
Obsession. And I think the reason that it's actually higher for me than it is for Katie is I've been playing some online.
Yeah, you and your boyfriend Fred, okay? I mean, I love Fred, and Fred says I'm invited to game with him anytime, but he games online with you all the time, and with one of my favorite games. I love Obsession.
Do you game online?
No, because
there you go.
I'm old and I don't know how to use the online fangled things.
Well, maybe you should quit being a boomer and learn how to game online.
Or maybe I should quit working like 5 jobs. I'd have time to game online.
It sends you an email. You click on your game, you take your turn, you forget about it until you get your next email. It's pretty
Do you
nice.
know how many emails I get from students complaining about nonsense?
That's true. That was, yeah. Maybe you don't want more emails.
I don't.
Obsession is everything Katie said. It's at its core, this is really a pretty simple game. You pick a tile, you collect a servant that you need to run that tile, because each of the tiles have a different requirement. And then you're going to play cards from your hand, maybe, not always, to get extra bonuses. You're going to get the bonus on the tile. You're going to get the bonuses from the cards that you play, which are gentry. And then you're just trying to get money and points to be the best up-and-coming family, to earn the Fairchild's love and affection and support. That's it. There's a lot going on in the game, and there are a lot of decisions, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Pick a tile, use the tile's action, play some cards, done. It's great. You can have so many cards. There's piles of cards. There's a card that this guy has no legs from the war. He needs 2 valets to help him, so you got to play this. Have the servants available to play that guy because he needs extra help.
You got to carry one person each side to carry him around. I love it.
It's amazing. It's super thematic for like a little chill tile card game. But yeah, I love it. And the more that I've been playing it, the more that I can really see how stuff fires together, and not having to set it up makes me like it even more, because the setup is a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. But the game is worth it if you can get through the setup and the teardown. So my number 14, Obsession.
I think we need to box it differently in order to make it easier. I think that's the problem. Yeah,
I need to go through and separate out the tiles again in a little more efficient manner, I think.
Yeah, I'd like some labeled baggies or something.
Yeah.
It just is crazy town. My number 14, we just played recently. And again, I love it so much. I love it so much. And that's Elysium. Oh, I know this is by Space Cowboys. Ha!
Good job.
I don't know who the designer is.
Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert.
And then there was talk oh, they're never going to do an expansion. And then it was oh yeah, there is an expansion coming. And I've still seen nothing from it.
It's never coming.
But there should be. So this game is so good. So in this game, it so easily could be. You have these, they're definitely Greek gods and goddesses, and you choose I think 5 of the decks to play with. I think there's only 9.
There's 8, and you play with 5 every time.
Okay, there's 8, which is criminal, because let me tell you, I just named 30 types of turf seed after gods and goddesses as part of an experiment, and you can easily get more than 8. Totally awesome expansion. I don't understand it. Anyway, so in this game, it's this card drafting. You're drafting cards, but each of the cards has a colored symbol on it that corresponds to these 4 little pillars that you have on your little board. So when you draft a card, you have to have the pillars in front of you that the card requires. And then once you draft a card, you remove one of those pillars from the round. So looking to see what's left, what kind of cards you want, to make sure you have the pillars right is a really intricate part of the game, because then you also have to get I forget what those tiles are called. A mission.
I don't know.
A something.
A quest. Maybe?
A quest. Yes. What is your quest? You have to get a quest, which is allowing you to move cards into Elysium, which is the scoring portion of your board, and also money. And so it also dictates turn order. So having the right column for the right turn order and stuff that you want is also important. So you're drafting these cards, and you're tableau building, you're managing what you have, to get the max of these cards, because some cards are going to give you points for other things. Some cards are going to allow you to move cards to Elysium, which is going to be in scoring. You also are doing a set collection thing where you want cards of the same number from different families, different colors, which are the different gods and goddesses, or you want runs in a single god or goddess's family, and move those to Elysium. Oh my gosh. Again, it's super easy. I pick a card, I move a pillar. But the choices are agonizing and like really getting the synergy to work between those cards. So you're just going bam, 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 getting points left and right, getting special powers that help you get more cards and like move things to Elysium for free or for cheap. Yeah. And I love Greek mythology. I'm super into mythology and I love this game. So my number 14, Elysium.
This is another one of those games that is over too quickly too.
Yeah.
I wish maybe it was another round because I always feel like I need more stuff going on to help me get more points. My number 13 is a Feld game. And this is one that we don't play a ton, but I always want to play it. But I don't know. We have like a German version and it has sleeves on the cards with English like paste ups in there. And it's real hard to shuffle and it becomes a pain in the neck, but I like playing it anyway. And the game is called Bruges. And this is a Feld card game. It's mostly cards. There is a board, but the board is just there to move up on a track and put some dice on and these little wooden bits, cardboard bits. And what you're doing is you are on your turn, you're going to play a card, and the card is going to be used in one of, I think, 5 different ways. It could give you a worker of that color if you discard it. It could let you build a canal on the board in that color if you have the proper money and you have a connection that you can be made. It can let you get rid of one of your plague tokens of that color. It'll let you build a building in your tableau of that color, and it will also let you play a worker in, or you can play the card into a building that you already have built. Doesn't matter the color, and that'll give you some special ability or a place to put a worker later. And you're going to do that over, like, I think there's 5 turns in a round, and it takes place over, I think, like 6 or 7 rounds. And then whoever has the most points after all that is the winner. It's strictly a card game. There is a track you're moving up, and you're using the dice that are rolled on the board to help determine some income that you'll get from playing cards and all that kind of thing. It has a lot of decision space, really, just for the card being one of 5 things you can do in different colors. But I like it, and it's one that I always want to play. We just never do. So my number 13 is Bruges.
I know I've played this like once, but it hasn't really stuck with me. So that's probably why we haven't played it again. Because I was like, meh. I don't know.
I've played it with Jim and Kim and Brandon and that. But I think, you've only played it once, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it seemed okay. In a continuing assessment of games that I like that have to deal with like hand management and whatever the mechanic is where you like make your cards work together in the best way possible. My number 13 is another Stonemaier game. Hello, Jamie. I see you. And I really like this game. That's Red Rising. A lot of people, like, for some reason, give this game like crap. I don't know why. And they're like, Marvel Remix takes a similar card approach. I like it. But this does other things. So in Red Rising, you've got this hand of cards that you start with. And each card has some requirements for it to get points or even for it to lose points. And so on your turn, you're drawing a card and you're playing a card. Now, where you play a card kind of dictates any actions that follow. Also, where you take a card from can kind of, and what that card does for you. Like, so it's very difficult to gain cards in your hand because you're usually playing and replacing. But you're also like trying to collect some resources. You're trying to move up on some tracks. We have the deluxified version, which I think has awesome components, but it does have the problem that a lot of the colors are very similar, which is kind of a pain. Because everything else about this game is so good. Like the artwork is really cool on the cards. It's got all these different colors. Again, some of the colors are similar on the cards even, but they have the name written on them. The gold cards have this gold foil to them. Just trying to get them all to work out, to get all the cards in your hand to go with each other, to just multiply points on points on points. That is like music to my ears, man. Because again, I'm basically playing my hand to the best of my ability, and you're doing the same. And how we go about that and who we keep and who we discard, different. But that's cool. And another reason why I love this game, amazing production value. I just love that mechanic in a game so much. And that's why my number 13 is Red Rising.
My number 12 is actually from Portal Games, which we have 4 of their games. I've already talked about one, And this one is a game about fashion and the fashion industry, and it's called Pret-a-Porter. I'm not sure how you say that. That's how I always say it.
Yeah.
And this is a worker placement game and economic game and set collection game about running a fashion house.
Empire,
yeah. And designing clothes and then putting those designs that you have come up with into a fashion show at certain points in the game. And you're trying to do all that to earn the most money, because in this game you're earning money, but you're also spending money that you're earning. So it's, everything is done through cash. Points are being earned and spent all the time. There are some times when you can take some of your money that you've earned on hand, put it into the bank, which actually translates into score around the track. So kind of like, so you don't have to worry about losing it and all that kind of stuff. It's got a lot going on. It's another one that's pretty hard to teach. And a lot of the people that we've played it with, I don't think like it as much as us. So it doesn't come out that much. But it's one that I always want to play. I like the theme. I like the look of it because we have the new one, and the new one does look pretty nice. It's fantastic, and I love it. So my number 12, Pret-a-Porter.
I like this one a lot. And you're right. I don't feel like other people seem to like it as much as we do. And I really like it. Like next week, like it.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. I think it was up there for me last year.
I mean, it's really like Pret-a-Porter if you want to use French or whatever, but it means ready to wear. But most English speakers say Pret-a-Porter.
Yeah, and that's how I'll keep saying it because I'm not French.
Okay, my number 12 is an Uncle Vital game. And this is my highest Uncle Vital game. Because while I do love his games, they are beasts, number one. And because of that, number two, it's difficult to get other people to play them because they don't want their brain to be challenged, or it takes so long to go through the rules and all those things. But we have taught some people this one, and Brandon's actually kind of hung in there with this, although I don't know that he likes it. And that is the Gallerist. Oh, the Gallerist. This game is so great. The theme is awesome because you're running an art gallery, which is really cool. And it's like all these different aspects of the art gallery. Like, you want to bring people into your art gallery. You also want to discover new artists. You want to buy their paintings when they're relatively unknown. You help them, get some notoriety or fame. And then you sell their paintings for like a butt ton once they're famous because people want them. You can also sell paintings in the foreign market. Like you got to have assistants to help you do all these actions and buy and sell paintings. Like, I love that. The Ian O'Toole artwork on this, I think, is sweet. Like, I love it. It's just classic. It feels so much like a modern art take on it, which I love that. Like, it's just such a good game. And true Uncle Vital style, you take a turn, and then you can also take these other little actions, and then you can leave like a worker, and then someone else goes to that same place. They bump you out, but then you get like another smaller action while they're taking the main action. And like, you want to do this one thing, but to do that one thing, you have to do these other two things first, and then figure out how you can afford to do that. I mean, it's a lot, but I feel like this is the most easily accessible of Vital's games that I've played. And I think that we've been the most successful teaching this to other people because the theme works well with it. And it's a cool theme, I think, that people like to latch onto. So my number 12 is the Gallerist.
Yeah, I'll be talking about this one next week. I haven't talked about it yet, so it'll show back up, I think. All right, so my number 11 is another game from the Italians. And this is one that we don't play a lot. And part of it is because this is one of their harder teaches. And this is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. And this is the game with the cool gears. And at its heart, it's a worker placement game. But the way the worker placement works in this is you're going to place on your turn, you're either going to place workers down on gears, or you're going to recall workers from gears and take the action of where they are. The longer they sit on the gear, the better the actions. But the rub is you always have to either put one down or take one off. So you can't just let everybody sit there for 5 rounds and do nothing. You're always moving them on and off and all that kind of thing. And you're trying to collect corn. You're trying to collect different resources. You're trying to build buildings. You're trying to collect crystal skulls to give offers to the gods. You're trying to, what else is there? I think that's really it. Just score pile points, move up. There's 3 tracks you're moving up on because I love tracks. You got to have tracks. It's just a really fun game. The worker placement bit is really neat. I like it. Another one that I don't really want to teach, and that's mostly because I'm lazy and I don't want to teach the games. So if you know how to play it, I'll gladly play it with you. My number 11, Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, I don't know where this is on mine. I've never liked it as much as you, but it's been a really long time since we've played it. I think it's a fun game, and I would play it. I just haven't. I did talk about this to that random stranger lady that's now my best friend that I met at the game store.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, man. I cannot go anywhere and just be like a spectator, a bystander, a shopper. People just want to talk to me like all the time, and then not just like talk, like make casual conversation, like they want to share stuff with me. And I said, I don't really need to know that you live in a farmhouse with your husband and that you have really bad internet, so you play board games, and I got the whole story.
Well, let me tell you why. Katie will look at somebody and smile.
Yes, like a friendly, normal person.
That's your problem. Me, when someone catches my eyes, I immediately look away and walk away. Because, like every decent human being, they don't want to talk to me really anyway, so I'm just doing them a favor. All right? So I'm trying to make myself look like the jerk to keep them from having to pretend like they're not a jerk. That's how that's how I roll. So Katie gets stuck in the conversations. I get to go on with my life and do what I was planning on doing in the first place, and it feels good.
People like me. You're supposed to smile to people, which again also gets me in trouble because I don't know. Because I like always generally smile, and then I get mad when some man tells me that I should smile. I'm like, I'm always freaking smiling, and if I smile or not, it's none of your dang business.
Yeah, I'm not telling you can't smile. I'm just telling you that's the reason why people talk to you and why they don't talk to me. Well, I mean, there's other reasons why they don't talk to me, but
I don't understand why a smile is like an invitation to a conversation. I just assumed
it clearly is. It happens to you every single day.
I know it did tonight. We went out to a Chinese buffet, and I found out this man's like his whole like ancestry.
You know what I did? I ignored him and went and got food and sat down and started eating.
Well, we can't all be you, Jason.
I know. It's a burden I got to bear. It's tough.
All right. My number 11, and the last one I'm going to talk about on this episode, is such a good game. And we haven't played it for a while, and I'm pretty ticked. And actually, I think the last time we played it with someone who has like the worst AP I've ever seen in my life.
We'll call him out. His name is Spencer.
Okay, it was Spencer from the Board Game Rundown.
He doesn't listen to any of these shows, so I don't really care.
That's true.
Tim will let
and
him
this
know.
Game took an eternity, and I felt like he hated it, but then I thought maybe he liked it, and I'm still not sure, but I like this game, and that is Rajas of the Ganges. Oh my gosh, this is a dice placement game. It's so good because in Rajas, you've got so many different opportunities open to you. Like of things you can do. You're like placing stuff on your own personal board and like making these paths to different resources and then collecting different items on these tiles that can give you like coins and stuff. This is maybe the first game where I've seen where there's again 2 tracks around the outside. One is a points board and one is money board. And you are playing and increasing both. No, points and influence, right?
Points and influence, yes.
Points and influence. Come back to reality. And you're trying to get those 2 to meet and cross in order to, as far as you can, in order to win. But you can do that through putting stuff on your board, through moving your boat down the Ganges, through, what else are you doing? Drafting your dice are being drafted to play in these different areas that you want to go. There's also like this board on the side where you can collect things. I forget what that one's called.
I'm not sure which.
I can't remember. Again, it's been a while since we've played it, but it's one of those games where you can do so many different things. And maybe you're really racing ahead on influence. Someone else can be racing ahead on points. Like, just balancing those, like, maybe you're like, I can't see a way to get this influence, but I know how to get points, so I'm going to move up on that track and just inch my influence along somehow so I can get them to meet. Like, there's just lots of different ways to go about this, and picking up your extra little workers that allow you to get more dice and then use those in different ways. Like, it's visually very appealing, colorful, lovely. Also, the first player marker is this cardboard elephant that you make, and I love him so much, and he runs around my board when I have him, which is probably why I sometimes don't win, because I'm too busy playing with the elephant.
We do have that upgraded one that Fred sent us too.
Yes. I don't think we played with that one yet.
We haven't played the game since we've gotten it, yeah.
Tragedy. We're going to bust this sucker out. So my number 11 is Rajas of the Ganges. All right, so that wraps up our games 20 to 11. Guys, next episode, top 10. The top 10 games of all time for Jason and I is in our next episode. But let's recap numbers 20 through 11 because they are truly awesome games.
So my number 20, let me scroll up here because, again, I'm never prepared. My number 20 is, there it is, The Voyages of Marco Polo. 19, Lisboa. 18, Hadara. I'm struggling with the reading. 17, Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. 16, Concordia. 15, London. 14, Obsession. 13, Bruges. 12, Pret-a-Porter. And 11, Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar.
Oh, I was like, oh, you're done already? That was really quick.
I mean, I was struggling to read, so it did take a little bit longer than normal.
My number 20 is London. Number 19 is Obsession. 18, Lorenzo Il Magnifico. 17, Merlin. 16, Wingspan. 15, Genotype. 14, Elysium. 13, Red Rising. I almost read yours. 12, The Gallerist. And 11, Rajas of the Ganges. Surprised? Do you have your own list? Are any of these new to you? Do you want to try some of them? Let us know. Find us on all our socials. We love to hear from you guys. I love to know. Prep your top 10 and post those for us because I love to find new games and see what you guys are playing and what you really love, and disparage you if you're wrong. Just kidding.
Yep. And if I see you at a restaurant, I will politely ignore you and keep walking. There you go.
And I will talk to you and we will become best friends. And before I leave, you have told me all your secrets and my hair will have gotten bigger because it will be full of them. That's how it works, people.
That's the marriage that we have and it works for us.
Jason's like, can we leave this freaking store? Stop talking to this stranger.
I just go on my business.
All right. Well, I've been Katie.
And I'm Jason.
Keep gaming, everybody.
Keep gaming.